Hey everybody, Robert here from blackbeltgaming, continuing to read through Adventures Dark and Deep, first edition AD&D Expanded. This afternoon, I'm going to be looking at the Cavalier. I remember the Cavalier being a new class back in the 1980s in the Unearthed Arcana book. There was a misprint on there that had the hit dice for the Cavalier as a D12. It should have been a D10. Also, there were some weird things about the Cavalier that I remember, including some, I believe it was like negative levels and trying to level up. I can't remember if you were a squire or something before you could become a full Cavalier, but some of those oddities seem to be hit dice is corrected and those negative levels are not here. But the Cavalier has become a main class, and Paladin, which used to be under Fighter, is now moved as a subclass under Cavalier. And I believe that also happened in the old Unearthed Arcana book. So as we jump into this, we see 14, 14, 14, Strength, Dex, and Con are required for to be a Cavalier, and 10 and 10, Intelligence and Wisdom, to each be 10. Centaurs can be Cavaliers, as well as, surprisingly, Drow Elves, Grey Elves, and High Elves, Half-Drow, and humans, of course. Any lawful alignment will be good enough. They can use any weapon and any armor and metal shields, but they do have some restrictions regarding some of these weapons and armor, as we'll see. Basically, just think of the Cavalier as the quintessential knight in shining armor. They're sworn to some nobleman or king or chivalric order, holy institution, or similar cause. And you may want to talk to your game master about your particular character or concept when it comes to the Cavalier. Determine what would be appropriate in the campaign. We talked about the minimum scores already. Cavaliers must be lawful, and if they lose their lawful alignment, they lose their special class abilities, and they're no longer bound by the restrictions. Cavaliers will not use flaming oil except in siege situations, as they consider this to be cowardly. And they advance as follows. We see it's a D10 per level. Armor restrictions. Well, basically, the Cavalier will always choose the better type of armor, regardless of whether it is magical or not. So if there was magical chainmail available that would actually improve the Cavalier's armor class to a better point, he would still choose to wear the plate mail instead. It's just part of being a Cavalier and the importance of armor and their status. They have a code of chivalry, and the specifics of the code can be modified to the particular campaign world, but it is generally things like glory in battle, honor, faith, courtesy, courage, pride, hospitality, loyalty, selflessness, and generosity. The last two, selflessness and generosity, could be waived for a Cavalier of an evil alignment. So a Cavalier would be expected to provide food and lodging to other Cavaliers of a similar alignment, and would need to display their coat of arms in battle and go to any length to retrieve their standard if it was lost. They need to show respect to their peers and honor their betters and scorn the ignoble. Failure to adhere to this code will have definite implications for experience points earned. Now, this almost is like a curse towards selfless bravery can lead the Cavalier to make some reckless decisions in battle. So they may charge into situations where maybe it would have been better to avoid such a rash and bold move. So in mass battle situations, a Cavalier will charge the enemy in an attempt to, let's get up here, gain renown for themselves. So enemies will be charged in the following order: powerful monster champions, enemy leaders, enemy cavaliers, elite cavalry, regular cavalry, elite foot, the enemy camp or command, melee troops, and finally the peasants. So they're entitled to make a wisdom check if desired to avoid making this charge for glory. So there is a chance they can possibly figure out maybe this isn't the time for me to go charging that dragon right at this moment. Cavaliers are born to the saddle and are excellent horsemen, and begin the game with 1 skill level in horsemanship. I'm just dying to read about these skills and how they work in this game. Multiple attacks per round, so they're able to attack more often than other characters when facing opponents that have a D4 or a D6 hit dice. So they get a number of attacks equal to their level. This is just like the old fighter from first edition AD&D. However, that multiple attacks per level, so if you're level 3, you get 3 attacks, that was only the fighter, from what I recall. I don't think that paladins or rangers got that. But it looks like the Cavaliers do. So a 3rd level Cavalier attacking a 1st level thief would get 3 attacks per round. It would not apply when fighting creatures with a D8 or better hit dice. Nor does it apply to any creature with more than 1 hit die, no matter what type it is. So I guess if it was a 2nd level thief, this wouldn't work. Special immunities. Cavaliers are immune to fear, whether that's caused by magical effect or some other force. They're 90% resistant to magic that affects the mind, like illusions, beguiling, charm, hold, sleep, suggestion. This is in addition to, and not instead of, regular saving throws. In addition to the resistance, they gain +2 bonus on any saving throws versus illusions. Cavaliers will begin the game with additional equipment and belongings that come from their lord or order to which they belong. The exact nature of this additional equipment will depend on the social class of the Cavalier, and there's evidently some more information on this. A Cavalier of lower upper class will begin with 10 to 60 gold pieces, plate mail, large shield, dagger, lance, and either a long or a broadsword, as well as a medium warhorse and saddle. So if we go to the upper middle class and the upper class, this is just going to get better. And you're going to have even better armor, weapons, and mounts. Weapons of choice. The Cavalier can learn to wield any sort of weapon. They will use the following preference to any other. So they always want to try to use their lance, and then we'll go to their blades, their swords. And then we'll go down to maces and flails and military picks and daggers, scimitars, and javelin. Cavaliers of elven and half-elven stock may add the short composite bow to the list as well. Weapons such as polearms, bows, and two-handed swords. Weapons such as polearms, bows, and two-handed swords are seen as cowardly in their use, and while not forbidden, does violate the code of chivalry of the Cavalier. Cavaliers must choose the lance as one of their weapons of proficiency at first level. Cavaliers gain a bonus to hit with certain weapons. So this does change. You can see the chart here. First levels get a +1 bonus with their lance if they're mounted. At level 3, a +1 with broadsword, longsword, or scimitar. At level 5, +1 with the mace, the flail, or the military pick. And it continues to work up in a similar fashion. Note that these bonuses to hit are not magical in nature and doesn't really affect their ability to hit those creatures that need magical weapons to be hit. The Cavalier choice of attacks. Let's see, the Cavalier weapon of choice attacks. So When you're using one of those particular weapons that the Cavalier really likes to use, levels 1 to 6, you get 1 attack per round. At 7 to 12, you gain 3 attacks every 2 rounds. This looks very familiar to me from the old AD&D and how fighters, and I think paladins and rangers were included in this, would get the multiple attacks per round if they leveled up high enough. So a Cavalier using a lance while dismounted gains a +1 bonus to damage inflicted on enemies. That's kind of rare to see, I guess, using a lance while dismounted, but I'm sure it's possible. Maybe it's like a spear. So retainers. Cavaliers are required to take on retainers as they increase in level. So by the time the Cavalier is fourth level, they need to have a 1st or 2nd level Cavalier as a retainer. So here I guess we're talking about essentially a squire or something. Let's take a look and see what else. Still talking about retainers. So by the time you're level 8, you're going to have anywhere from 2 to 12 mounted man-at-arms, level 0 fighters with mail, horseman's flail, lance, and a light warhorse that will be your retainers. All of these retainers will follow the Cavalier without pay, other than the standard upkeep and training. At all times, the Cavalier is responsible for his retainers living up to the Cavalier's chivalric code. Such retainers are counted as henchmen. And I believe that will do it. And we're going to head into the Blackguard next.